Yeah, I got my doubts about Ron Paul. And to tell you the truth, I like what he says, right? But I got my doubts about him. I know he's got a long record of conservatism or whatever you want to call it, less government and all this type of stuff. But I don't buy it. I put him in the same camp as like Ronald Reagan, you know, and they wouldn't let him be president unless he was controlled. He was controlled by George Bush. And you know that big divide between Reagan and Gorbachev, that was a big fake. They were dealing with Gorbachev the whole time. They're all part of it. Talk about Senator McCain, John McCain. I know he's a POW in Vietnam, and a lot of people are saying, oh, he's on the head of the POW committee. He'll take care of it. If you read way back then about POW Michael Benj, he used to put a lot of critical articles out there on that. I don't know if I want to put that on a YouTube or not, but from what I looked at, is McCain just he sold out to the money interest that wanted to normalize relationships with Vietnam to get the businesses back in there, like Nike shoes was going in there and that type of stuff. So he buried the problem with any survivors from POWs in Vietnam. That's what I think happened. You know, but he talks one way and he does another way. Same with Reagan, same thing. Newt Gingrich, he closed down the government in 1995 and 96. You know, the unruly Republicans, he was leading them and all this type of stuff. The whole thing's a big ruse. And you know, they got that junk over in Russia. You got like Zhirinovsky and you got Putin and all this kind of stuff. They play to the crowd. That's what's going on. They play to the crowd. This guy, I think he's part of that kind of thing too. That's what I think, man. I don't trust him. And I'm going to bring out one thing because this is something he can actually raise a few more questions about is 911. Now, when I saw those buildings going down, you know, I didn't even have to read any kind of conspiracy theory at all because I get enough sense on how things are constructed. that crap just didn't fall. You know, because I'm not, you know, I don't do construction like physically, but I even know how to do some of that. I do accounting. But when I watched those buildings fall, I thought that was a bunch of BS. But he talks about 911. He goes, 911 came not from a Muslim dislike of the Western way of life, but rather because the United States forcibly occupies foreign countries. If you were to imagine for a moment how you would feel if another country forcibly occupied the United States, had military bases and armed soldiers present in our hometowns, you might begin to understand why foreign occupation upsets people so much. Yeah, I guess I agree with that, but I think he's sidestepping the whole issue here. You know, most people got questions as to somebody on the inside of the United States demolished the buildings and the whole thing was a setup. I mean, that's becoming more like there's a lot of questions on that, especially with the building number 7. But never a peep out of him about this. And he'll be talking about Osama bin Laden like for all these years before they dumped him in the ocean later on, like he was alive. The guy was dead. He was dead back in late 2001. So this guy, I'd like to see how he's going to dismantle the Federal Reserve and tear down the whole industrial military complex and get rid of the Department of Energy and Department of Education, anything that's unconstitutional. I don't buy it. It reminds me of like a lot of the ones in the past. And there's some other things. He can do this, and this would make sense to me. Why not ask some more questions about insider trading before 911? Like, there was a lot of things that people made put options or call options depending on if they bet the stock was going to go down or the stock was going to go up before 911. And you wonder, how the hell did they know this information? Great bets, right? You know, huge surges in purchases of put options on stocks of the 2 airlines used in the attack, United Airlines and American Airlines. Big surges in put options on stocks of reinsurance companies expected to pay out billions to cover losses from the attack. Munich, and AXA Group. Surges in purchase of put options on stocks of financial services companies hurt by the attack. Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley and Bank of America. Surges in purchase of call options of stocks of a weapons manufacturer expected to gain from the attack. So you did some call options on that. And then the whole market went down really bad after 9/11. So what did he buy? Huge surges in purchase of 5-year U.S. Treasury notes. So this is something, if Ron Paul was going to do all these big things, this would be a much smaller thing to do, to investigate. And, talk to the public about what he found. This, if he did this, I'll guarantee you, he'd be dead. I mean, he'd have a heart attack or something, I mean, I don't know, anything. It just wouldn't happen. That's why I don't, people want him to be the guy that's going to save everything. And I know he says all the right things, but I doubt it. On September 6th to 7th, there was no significant news or stock price movement involving United Airlines. The Chicago Exchange handled 4,744 put options of the UAL stock compared with 396 call options. So 11, 12 to 1. More puts, almost 12 times as many puts. So, and then on September 10th, and on another uneventful day right before the attack, for American Airlines, the volume was 748 calls, 4,516 puts. So again, about, roughly 6 times more puts put on that was on the option trading records. So this is something that's right there, black and white. Hey, you got a lot to go on here. If you want to change the world, this has been around for a long time. It could have been done a long time ago. And instead of saying that we got bases someplace, and that's why they got mad at us, so they went over here and attacked our World Trade Center. Come on, Ron. I'm not going to buy into that garbage. I think he's playing to the crowd. This is a pretty good article, and I'm going to post a link on it. It's from an Australian site. The Australians got some pretty good stuff. Talking about Larry Silverstein. Lucky Larry Silverstein. He goes, he made $4 billion on a 6-month investment of $124 million, right? That was, in other words, what that was what the insurance policies cost him. His first order of business was his new owner was to change the company responsible for the security of the complex. Now, if I was Ron Paul, I wouldn't be going after, questioning George Bush's brother who owned Securicom or something like that, because I do agree that you're going over the line there. But, say for instance he was going to bring out some more of this in pieces. That would be the smart thing to do. That's something concrete, So he's just going to walk and be president and the Federal Reserve. Come on. No way. Following attacks, Silverstein filed 2 insurance claims for the maximum amount of the policy, $7 billion, based on 2 separate attacks. That's how Silverstein argued it. And if I was him, I would argue it that way too. I mean, you always go for more money. The insurance company Swiss Re paid Silverstein $4.6 billion. So he put out $124 million or something. I don't know if that's for the policy or whatever the hell it was. The towers required. He talked about the towers were like asbestos time bombs. They were a big problem to get rid of the asbestos, and the towers required some $200 million in renovations and improvements, most of which related to removal or replacement of building materials declared to be health hazards, which was said it was an asbestos bombshell. For years, the Port Authority treated the buildings like an aging dinosaur, attempted on several occasions to get permits to demolish the building for liability reasons, but being turned down to the known asbestos problem. So, quite obvious, what did they do, right? Got rid of all the red tape, goodbye buildings. Further, it was well known the only reason the building was still standing until 9/11 was because it was too costly to assemble the twin towers floor by floor, since the Port Authority was prohibited legally from demolishing the buildings. The projected cost to disassemble the towers is $15 billion. Just the scaffolding for the operation was an estimated $2.4 billion. So, you know, you have to understand how the Illuminati makes decisions. It's all off of money. The WTC Building 7 was part of the WTC complex and covered under the same policy. And it wasn't struck by an aircraft, and I know. And I remember this famous quote. And you know, I'm going to say before I even read this, that they say when he said to pull the building, that meant pull everybody out of there because we're going to blow it up. You know, to tell you that I think Larry Silverstein did slip up, and I'm telling you, the people on the top are kind of stupid sometimes. They really are. You know, they screw up. I remember getting a call from the fire department commander. This is him talking, telling me that they were not sure they were able to be able to contain the fire. And I said, we had such a terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. Then we made that decision to pull, and we watched the building collapse. So, you know, everybody knows that one, right? But I mean, hey, Ron Paul, where is he? Is he talking about, what did Larry Silverstein mean by that statement? I don't hear him ever saying that stuff. He talks about we got bases in the other places and we support the Palestinians, or we don't support the Palestinians. I mean, that's all he's going on. He's not talking about something specific over here that can actually, well, that would get him in trouble. That's why I know he's not going to do all these things he's talking about. Thousands of sensitive files related to some of the biggest financial scams in history were in a building, including Enron and WorldCom. And he says in there, it says Larry Silverstein's closest friend is none other than former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So, I don't know, well, he's Jewish, so I mean, why not? But that doesn't mean nothing to me. But you got a lot of questions on, you know, he changed security on a building. You know, he made this stupid statement about having a building pulled, you know. And then talking about with the insurance policy, that was freaking perfect timing. And all the put options and on the things that were going to go down and the call options on it, things like the weapons manufacturer. So what is Ron Paul, you know, saying? Is he saying anything about this? No. So I don't know about him. You know, I got too much experience with this crap. I mean, I looked at what Ronald Reagan was about, and he really talked a great line. He's an actor. And you start digging in later on, you know, the Russians and the Americans are all in with each other, you know. Newt Gingrich, he talks a really good line, especially when he was getting, you know, in his earlier days. Then you got John McCain, another one. And this guy, I think he's the same deal. I don't know. Larry Silverstein saved some money. That's what it looks like he did. You know, it was going to cost a hell of a lot more money. They demolished the building really fast, and he got money. He got paid for it. So that's what happened. You know, and you got Ron Paul over here. He's not even asking any questions on that. He's going to dismantle the Federal Reserve, the military-industrial complex. He's going to get rid of, you know, Department of Energy, Department of Education, all this kind of stuff. Just cut out all kinds of different things. He's talking. I don't buy it. It's not true. That's why I think a lot of people putting too much effort into this guy's campaign. They're wasting their efforts on it. So, as far as keeping with the principles, go for it. But getting behind this guy too much, I wouldn't do it.